Welcome back to It Tastes Like Burning. This is Matt.
This is Jesse.
And as always, and per the usuals, you can reach us on Gmail at or almost said gmail.com.
Yeah, that would get somebody somewhere.
That'll get someone, probably the company.
Yeah.
You can also find us at ittasteslikeburningcast at gmail.com. You can also find us on other places like Twitter,
Facebook.
And if you're feeling particularly sporty, you can always buy your Father's Day and Christmas and Thanksgiving and Hanukkah.
And that's actually on Printify.
Or on Printify now.
Yeah, it's on Printify. Yeah.
Excellent.
So all that's in the description, so they can just scroll right down there and hit the button. It Tastes Like Burning jockstrap is a popular item
and flip-flops.
And flip-flops. And, marital aids.
Before we actually dive off into the nuts and bolts of the podcast, I want everyone to know that it's officially summer in Texas, and wherever you're at, it's not as hot as it is here.
Yeah.
It is absolutely atrocious and terrible.
Have you seen the World Cup people?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like the English that complained about the England summer and it's so hot because it's 87. And they actually came to Texas for World Cup and they're like, no, fuck you guys. Y'all are insane. This is ridiculous. Like, people can't live in this.
No, it's not to jump on the global warming train here, but I'll go as far as to say, even in the 16 years that I've been in Texas, this go around, that the weather patterns have shifted a little bit. Now, I will say that
it's all the moisture, right?
Yeah. It's not as hot as 2011. Like, we haven't even remotely gotten to how bad 2011 was. But we are very routinely, it's finally hot enough where it's starting to dry out, thank God. But like 2 weeks ago, when summer officially started,
and it was 107 with 107 humidity.
Yeah, we had a temperature of something like 103, 105, and I think the actual humidity was in like the 65, 75% range, where the heat index was like pushing 120.
Yeah.
And all I'll tell everyone is I've done a lot of traveling in my life, and like that felt like sub-Sahara Africa heat. Like that was all there. It felt like the Red Sea or the Persian Gulf level of heat. Yeah. Now we've gotten hotter, but it's also dried out a little bit.
Right. Which has helped that some.
When it's 105 or 108 and the humidity's only 45 or 50%, makes a big difference. But ironically enough, you still wish you would have put deodorant in your nether regions.
Yeah.
Like, it's hot.
So lots of happenings right now, right?
Oh my God, we're both so busy right now.
Like a one-armed paper hanger.
There's personally, and just my own personal life, I'm truly amping up with my company, Delta Fire and Safety. I'm busy. I am very, very busy stomping around the state of Texas. Yesterday was an anomaly, but I did drive just short of 1,000 miles yesterday.
And what all states did you see?
Oh yeah, just one.
Oh.
Technically, I only left one region and went to another region in Texas.
Oh, it's just 2 regions.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No, I got to spend 1,000 miles in basically north central Texas. I guess we'll throw the Red River in there to not be too melodramatic.
Okay, so 3.
3. And then the Panhandle, the great Panhandle in the state of Texas. Yeah.
So how many panhandlers are in the panhandle?
Well, I think I'd be pretty charitable if I said there's 500,000. We'll go on the real high side and say 600,000. And of that 600,000, 95% of that lives in Amarillo or Lubbock.
Yeah.
And the other 5%'s the other area
Everywhere
the
else.
size of Montana.
Yeah.
It's probably not as big as Montana, Nebraska, Kansas.
Kansas is probably a decent comparison.
Yeah. So, and then the department's busy. Got lots of shenanigans and lots of calls, and this year's been a very high call volume year. And then we've been doing a lot with SFFMA, State Firefighters and Fire Marshal's Office. Jesse's been particularly inundated on that front.
Yeah.
And then we have a whole nother podcast, and I'm gonna do my best to not really talk about it because we'll have ultimately probably several podcasts dedicated to this huge project that we're working on the side right now.
Yeah, just a side chick.
Now,
but we're gonna venture into some of that, right? So we're gonna talk about how you can help your side projects along.
yeah, and kind of the precursor, the main, we'll call it the trumpet blast on today is it was probably about a year ago, maybe a hair more than a year ago. We had an episode on AI. And let me tell you, hell, and it's true even for me. Like, I was pretty skittish at AI after our episode on AI. Like, I wouldn't trust AI to help me with anything department related.
Right.
Now, I will also go as far as to say, I think part of that was the company and that particular AI algorithm that we were using to have that discussion and also contribute.
Also, we didn't have any guardrails on that discussion, right? We just let it do.
I don't know. I really do think there was some guardrails there. And it went off the guardrails actually pretty darn quick.
Hard.
So today's going to focus on.
Let's think about that, and let's tell them, go back into the playlist, find the one that about AI. It has title. It's titled about AI. We interviewed Grok. Go back, find that one, and listen to it.
Yeah.
Just pause this. Go back, listen to that one.
Have a refresher.
Come back to this.
So I will also credit. I did a lot of personal research into like the next AI I would use because, quite frankly, Grok was useless and dead to me after that. After that episode, I turned around and canceled my subscription to Grok and refused to use it.
Now, I didn't, and I still have it because for graphics, it's really good at
I was going to say, it's particularly powerful at graphics. And that kind of goes into the first part of this discussion. One, I think I feel very comfortable in saying that both of us highly recommend using AI.
Yes.
I think the second part of this discussion requires the individual to do a little bit of research to determine what exactly are you wanting to use the AI for.
Right.
Okay. In my case, I have yet to ever need an AI, for lack of better words, that's theoretical or imaginative or just, I need something really analytical, really fact-based, really science-based, and to the point. I don't really care about all the fluff and circumstance and story building and potential images I can build off of it, and on and on. And there's a really clear-cut winner if you're needing AI that's, for lack of better words, very black and white.
Yeah.
And I have had great success with Claude.
And I as well, right?
Now, before we go too far down the rabbit hole, because there's going to be a point here where you're going to take
I
over
use like
this
4 or
discussion.
5 of them. Like I'm using Grok, Claude, ChatGPT, I'm using the Copilot, I'm using Gemini, I'm using the Nano Banana. Like I'm using all of these different AIs for different things.
Right.
But like my go-to and the one that I decided to give money to was Claude.
Yeah. Now, at face value, who uses Claude? Claude is a AI built specifically for software development and coding. Like, that is where AI and Claude come together. And the irony in this is that I don't actually use AI at all for that. What I use AI for is more of, here's a talking point, discussions, and I need to hear all parts of the argument.
And
Or 500 other applications where I've used it.
in all
Budget
honesty,
discussions.
we have ventured down this road for It Tastes Like Burning book. Like,
Sure.
keep your eyes peeled for that in the future, right? And we use Claude to do a lot of this work, right?
I'm going to put you on the spot real quick. Do you still think we'll be able to have the book at your original intended due date?
I can.
I think you're full of crap.
I can. I just have to shit on a few other projects, right?
Yeah, that's the kicker, is that you're not project limited right now.
Right.
Okay. And like I said, before I completely turn it over to you, because you're going to end up talking.
Let's talk about how we use Claude to help us with the future book that hopefully in 2027 you get to buy a book from It Tastes Like Burning podcast, right?
Well, in our particular case, the unique thing that we have is that we have 3 years?
4. We have 115-ish episodes.
Okay. Of content. Okay. And full credit goes to Jesse on this. Basically, the concept is you have the content. Some of it's really good. Some of it's actually really, really good. Probably at least 20% of it is just us popping corks and beating the head against the wall.
Right.
Okay. But there's, of those 115 episodes, there's 80 that are and there are 40 that are and there are 20 that are and there's 10 that are actually fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay. Really, really came together, proves the point of a podcast. Well, the question is how do you pull everything from the aggregate into, in this case, a book? Okay. And it turned out, go ahead, Jesse.
That Claude can go listen to the podcast and take the subject and the particulars and the things that are discussed and create a chapter out of a particular episode of a podcast.
So I'm going to dive in here. Jesse does this and sends me, I think, one chapter.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, the funny thing is that I can write. but I don't write like that, and I can't write like that. And it was so well put together. It was actually really frustrating.
Yeah.
Like if you need someone to write a technical paragraph or hell, even a technical book, I can do that. I have no problem with that. But I have to give AI Claude credit. You what's the prompts that you fed it?
So I told it, I gave it the actual link to the episode, right?
Okay.
So it has the actual audio of that episode. I told it to take that episode and create a chapter for a book that revolves around topics that are discussed on this podcast. And of course you have to let it know that you own the material,
Sure.
right? Because it's not going to take Joe Rogan and make a book for you, right? That would be highly illegal,
And unethical.
unethical, right?
Yeah.
It is our material, and of course, at the time I walked away from this project, and I say took a pause so that I could work on some other projects. I was reading about 2 or 3 chapters of this book a week and kind of going through word for word the actual written part of the chapter. So I'm looking at it, I'm going in and tweaking things and adjusting things and taking out parts that I don't think are pertinent, because we do chase squirrels, right?
Mhm.
And,
100%.
and we don't need the squirrel chasing in there. And just kind of working through that. I probably worked through 10 chapters. I think we are realistically a 12 to 14 chapter book on the aggregate of what we can produce at this moment that kind of fits together in a format. Uh, and it's some of our more popular episodes, right? It's not the most worthless episode. It's not the oddball thing that doesn't fit with the other things. It's the things that meet a kind of trend of what we were talking about, and that have a and basically, guys, it's a leadership book,
Right.
you know. And part of what triggered this thought is, you got folks that are writing leadership books, right? And there's some great authors, great guys that are writing really good books. And I'll throw Samson, I'll throw
D'Souza.
Lasky,
Yeah, Lasky.
I'll throw Stalka. I'll throw those guys out there as guys that are writing really good leadership books. And they did it the absolute hard way, right? They sat down at a computer and pounded on keys until they came up with something. And then that something became the book.
I don't want to give them just quick credit because that's much harder, in my opinion,
Yes.
than having like a story in mind. Like where you have a very definitive beginning, a middle, and then the conclusion. Like when you're writing a physical story,
Yes.
okay, like that is very different than trying to take everything randomly just tumbling around in your brain and being able to organize a coherent thought and be able to organize that onto a page that's not more than 2 or 3 sentences,
Right.
much less a full chapter, much less multiple chapters, much less a 4 or 6 hour or 8 hour book to physically read.
And make it have a moral to the story, right?
Right.
Make it have something that ties all these things together into a package of the book, right? So that kind of opened my eyes doing that, working on that project for, And I didn't work on it long. I worked on it for 3 or 4 weeks.
And here's the kicker. Here's where I'm going to dive in. So I read a couple of chapters, a chapter here, a chapter there. And the crazy part is particularly one thing that I was shocked that Claude was, I don't know how it does this, but it is really good at finding impactful quotes.
Impactful quotes and personalities.
And
like it captured our personalities.
And because just like this, we're just randomly talking. But I never have thought that this damn thing would actually zero in on impactful statements. Now, completely different discussion. How it does that, I have no clue.
Right.
But it was shockingly very well put together. Like I could not believe how well it was put together. And then this is neither here nor there. This little part I'm going to add, okay? But for everyone that listens to the physical podcast knows that, me and Jesse both equivocally have the voice for, we have the face for radio and the voice for print.
Yeah, and I'm illiterate.
And this is something that I've dabbled in a ton, and it has to do with our fire academy. Being able to build a PowerPoint and have it narrated. And all I can tell you is that I've taken the equivalent of 100 hours of work and been able to condense it down to maybe 12 or, well, there's 16 chapters. We'll just average it out and call it 16
hours. Yeah.
And like being able to use AI to narrate the PowerPoints for these slideshows is an absolute game changer. Now, the craziest part about that, and that's a whole separate AI platform, that's called 11 Labs. And 11 Labs dominates that market. So if you've ever seen a YouTube reel or a YouTube short, and realistically a TikTok with, quite frankly,
you're wondering how James Earl Jones narrated this clip, right?
Or the voice. How does that one very characteristic voice narrate 14,000 things? Here's how. AI. That voice is available to you to purchase on AI. Now, in our particular case, because I was already spending so much damn money on being able to process the damn slideshows, I sure as hell wasn't going to process a voice. So what I did is I created a voice that's called Fat Middle-Aged American. And I shit you not, 4 other people use that voice, which is insane. Why in the hell my voice is the one that they picked for whatever the hell it is beyond me. But you can narrate, you can create your own voice profile. My only sin in this, and I want to experiment with it more, is that when I originally created the voice for the narration of the podcast, or not the podcast, the PowerPoints for the Academy, is that I pulled up a Scientific American article because it makes sense in my head to find an article to read that
with
has
words.
Lots of words and particularly large syllables, which is evidently a superhuman ability to be able to read anymore, but that's a whole nother discussion. And I ended up reading for about 90 seconds. And it's absolutely scary at how accurate that stupid AI picked up, unfortunately in this case, a very monotone voice to narrate an entire school. And the thing I need to experiment next time with is I still want to do the Scientific American article, but in this particular case, I want to try and read it with emotion.
I got 2 words for you. Sam Kinison.
That might be the answer.
Could be the answer, right?
So that's one thing that I have a colossal amount of experience with AI in is the voice generation and the ability to take that created content and the multiple platforms that you can take that content into and out.
So all of this opens so many doors, right? It opens these doors that were never achievable because it was tens of thousands of hours of effort to make.
Oh yeah, no, the very first Fire Academy that we put in a video, if I had 500 hours in that, I'm telling you, I'm lying. I think it was longer. That was sheer hell. I would never do that again. That took weeks and weeks and weeks to take that very first academy and put that into a video.
And I think there's a common denominator of fear. People fear using the AI, except for their political posts, right?
Right.
They'll use that extensively to create a post on Facebook that, every person has 14 fingers and the words are misspelled and all that stuff, right? And I'm really hesitant to use it for that particular thing. Like, it doesn't do well with that. But there's all these uses where it particularly does better than I could do as a human. That's good. It just does so much better. And I'm a pretty creative writer, right? I'll misspell every other word, but my cadence and my way of creating a flow of the words is pretty good. Like, I'm good at that.
I think the incredible thing, and we're going to get to this because, like I said, Jesse's going to talk a lot about this. The thing I want to give AI credit for is I think for our listeners, you need to truly understand both of us are highly technical, but we don't build the computer.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can't
It goes back
build.
to I'm not the IT guy, I'm the IDIoT guy, right?
Right. Like, I can't build a program up to a year ago. And I only know what I know. And I only know how to use PowerPoint or Excel or Word a certain way. And I can't magically make those better because I don't take classes. I don't do it as a full-time job. I don't interact with people that share new ideas at how to use those programs. But here's where AI truly is a game changer. And it allows you to be a master electrician and an HVAC master, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And it allows whatever my most airline transport pilot who never had nothing to do with computers other than using them to be able to do things with software and computer programs And particularly in my case, the enhancement of your idea and your product and take it to a whole new level. And unequivocally, before I turn it over to Jesse, so we need an ag rescue class. Jesse's too busy for it because he literally has 14 irons in the fire right now. Okay. Well, I know what the ag rescue standard is by just simply looking at OSHA and an NFPA. And oddly enough, I've done some ag rescues. So I can sit there.
A horse under a trailer house is not an ag rescue.
No, but I've had a guy in a baler and a guy under a tractor. So
Okay.
I've had those.
The horse under the house does not count.
It should. And be able to sit there, and it helps because I'm a little familiar with AI, because the precursor to this entire discussion is knowing how the trick to AI. This entire discussion builds around this single point with AI, knowing how to build the original prompt, your question, and how you want it to be rendered. Okay, your original whatever in AI is not, hey, can you help me build a PowerPoint?
Of course it can.
It needs to be, I need to build a PowerPoint. It has to cover these objectives. This is the standard that it goes to. These are the points of consideration and extra discussion. It needs to be approximately this long, but if we can cover all this, it can be this long. And what you realize is that you have to build an incredibly powerful prompt. That's the trick to AI. If you ask it a general question, it will give you a general answer.
Right.
If you ask it a really complex question and parameters and guardrails and end results and source material and what it should look like and what the general discussion should be and what the level of entry the students are or subjects and what you need them to be at the end, to a standard or certain level of awareness or whatever. It turns out that what you end up typing isn't just 5 sentences. It's not a paragraph. For the love of God, don't hit enter.
No.
Don't hit enter, because then you'll send it to AI. Just keep typing. It's okay to have a giant run-on paragraph.
It figures all that out.
Okay. The more information that you give it at the very, 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 very beginning, the cleaner, crisper, much higher defined product that you will get on the back end. And I'm going to turn this over to Jesse now. So we had a particular project.
Yes.
What was that project?
Create a new version of a fire academy.
For who?
For our district.
And what was our limitations?
So basically, we were going to use a canned curriculum
that's already created,
and use multiple locations for hands-on with an online didactic portion, and travel this academy throughout what's going to be 10 to 11 weeks of travel at all these different locations to produce the hands-on portion of the academy.
So what are some of our limitations?
So we're limited by what the JPRs are, number one, what has to be covered, what the textbook and the didactic portion actually covers, what the ability of the location hosting the hands-on day has the ability to do. That's a big one. And the desire to make it as compact but as thorough as humanly possible.
So what's some of our limitations?
Random unproven instructors.
Okay. Anything else? Facilities.
Time frame, amount of material that has to be covered.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, we have to take an existing fire academy that is very well known to its current instructors.
Right.
And we have to
spread that to other people.
We have to be able to give it to other people, okay, that still cover a state national standard while making it objectively qualifying, but abstractly meaningful. How do we do that?
So a lot of AI, right? A lot of AI.
But why? Why? Let's start with the why. Why did you particularly choose to tackle this with AI?
So I started with just the concept, right? I looked at what the end goal was, what I had on hand to be able to do this.
Okay, and real quick, I just thought of this. What did you actually have in possession? What'd you already have already?
I already had all the video lectures
and
all of the tests, quizzes, format, general guideline of the time frame, and the topics to be covered on a weekly basis.
Without going into great detail, why did you already have that?
Previous academies that I've created and ran.
Right. You've already had
I've already had a lot of experience, right?
Okay.
Have the experience running academies. So
now you had the material, but you have the experience. But those two don't qualify into a regional fire academy.
No.
Okay. So give me a second.
We took the human element of it and looked at, without the AI, right? We looked at what needed to aggregate together on a certain week without the constraint of who was going to do it.
Without going down that rabbit hole, what did we need for that to happen?
We needed the curriculum, right?
Okay.
We needed all of that information.
You need the curriculum plus what else? I think two other things.
The videos.
Okay.
And we needed the time frame, basically. Okay. What else do you got?
Two other things. Just the instructors.
Right.
And it's not instructors, it's instructor. Okay.
The person that can lead that charge.
Yeah, you need a Grand Poobah, ultimate golden woodchuck, fourth batter up, dependable, world-class instructor, which oddly enough, we have access to in our district.
Yeah.
But next challenge is we didn't necessarily, you might have the right instructor, but you may not have the facilities.
So, and then it was figuring out how this works into the facility format, right? Because you can't do live fire at a fire station that doesn't have a facility, right?
Yeah, they got to have a burn house.
They got to have a burn house. They have to have these things. And so before we even went to the AI, we humanized how do we kind of fit all these pieces together, and who is the best potential person to do that piece, right?
Right. So there was a vetting of personnel.
Right. Vetting of personnel without their knowledge of they were even being vetted for this, right?
Right. And that's a little bit of a
Assumption.
yeah, we'll call it a stretch or assumption or pipe dream on our part.
Right.
Because, well,
Well,
just
you
the
have
fact
to
of
have
the matter is me and you know a lot of people.
you have to have something to show them to prove that this is a viable option.
Right. Because you can't start the discussion by saying, hey, we think you're awesome and you should teach 1 week at this particular fire academy.
Right.
Because that instructor, who we do highly value and we know is highly qualified, is going to sit there and look at you and bat his eyes and be like, no.
Y'all are insane.
Okay. But if you actually come to him with everything and you're like, this is what the golden woodchuck looks like. Wait, you get to physically touch it at the end of the fire academy, but that's the golden woodchuck. So we've taken all of these considerations, and then what'd you have to do?
Take this idea and turn it into reality, right?
But why? What? Why did our pre-existing crap not work for where we're trying to go?
Well, one, our pre-existing crap was designed for us to maintain and manage and do everything ourselves.
Right.
Right.
So it was
now we're
very specific to us, and where did we take it?
To us, to our neighbors.
Yeah,
right?
our neighbors. We're actually trying to spread A, the workload, but B, the wealth. Because our organization has so demonstratively benefited from physically being able to do the academy that it's actually almost indescribable at how big of a benefit that it's been to the organization over the years. That said, I've always made this argument when talking to other chiefs at other departments that I've been recruiting for this academy. The fact of the matter is that two things can be true. It can be a gigantic benefit to my organization and also be a meat grinder.
Right.
Okay. Where I am physically destroying really good people.
Yeah.
And in a really short amount of time, take people that love training and turn them off of it.
I think that so it's the ham and eggs breakfast model, right?
Sure.
Right? You take somebody like me who is just an absolute autist when it comes to taking something and producing it into a final product, and I don't care, like, if I have to cut my left leg off to keep making this move forward and happen. I'm that guy, right? I can just keep pushing forward, and whatever my personal sacrifice is just collateral damage. But most people are not that way. And most people have to have like a reasonable expectation of what is expected, required, and what kind of time they're going to have to put into it. And I think,
and that doesn't make them a terrible person.
No, absolutely not. That makes me the idiot. Yes. Right.
And it makes them realistic.
Right. Yeah. It's not that my ability is so much above theirs. It's just my disregard for my personal well-being is zero. So I will just commit to whatever beyond the capabilities of most people's commitment. Right? Not their ability, their commitment.
Right.
And I think there's a big difference there.
Yeah. So what did you ultimately create?
So I took all of this and I used a lot of AI tools, specifically Claude, and I learned how to use these tools to produce a academy that works on this regional level. There is so many moving parts to this, way more than what we can even consider and talk about. But how do you vet that what somebody's proposing to do on their hands-on day actually meets the criteria for what has to be covered?
Right? That's
Right?
just one facet.
One facet. How do you take what is in the certification documents and parse that out to where you know what is actually hands-on and has to be covered on that hands-on day, and what is book, the didactic part, and what is covered by the book? How do you know the book actually covers this specific detail of the part of it, right?
It's an important part because you're trying to teach to a standard.
Right.
Again, it's not Uncle Knick-Knack's bait and tackle shop and volunteer firefighting academy. We're actually trying to teach to a national and state recognized level.
Right. So how do you know that chapter 14 of the book actually covers these 47 things?
Well, one way is you can read the damn thing.
And then go line for line and read it again, because you're going to have to read it about 10 times, right?
And eventually you will have looked at the material for so long that you'll become blind. Your brain just blocks it out. So what do you have to do beyond that? Well, then you got to find other sacrificial lambs to start going line by line.
Right. Or you feed these two documents into the AI, which happen to be Claude in this case, and say cross-reference these things and put it in a spreadsheet where I can look at it and see, hey, this is not covered in the textbook. We have to cover this by another way.
And how long did that total process take?
So, total for the entirety of the academy, I probably have 40 hours in it.
Okay. No, to just cross reference.
Total for the entirety of the academy,
Take a guess at how long just for cross referencing.
an hour.
Okay. So, and again, if you're heading to read, it's not an hour.
It's a 3-inch thick book.
Right. Realistically, if you worked on it nonstop every day and you were highly capable of that, it'd be a minimum of a week. And realistically, it's a month.
It's a month, right?
Okay.
So you use those tools to do that bulk reading, deciphering, acknowledging.
The one thing I want to add here is very definitive black and white. It's a yes or no question. There's no in between. Does it reference? Does it meet this?
Yeah.
If not, no. And it sends you
A report.
2 piles. Here's all the yes, here's the no. Assuming you got a no, what did you do?
Took that information, figured out how do we make sure we cover that, right? What tools do we already have in place? What plans do we already have in place to cover this said thing? And if we don't, what does it take to create that, right? So obviously you can't learn in the book how to swing an axe, right? You can learn the theoretical portion of how that's done, but you can't actually swing the axe in a book. So at some point you have to proverbially swing the axe. You have to chop the wood. You have to break down the door. You have to do that. Well, what things do we have to do to actually do that?
Quick bird dog moment here. Do we have a physical, and I'm not joking, an axe swinging part of this academy?
No, that's a made up thing.
Well, it's not though.
It is not, but it falls under a myriad of different categories where that falls in.
I'm not
right?
kidding. We have a couple of classes
So
that we've already scheduled. No, hang with me here. Like I'm thinking of our sprinklers night.
yeah,
We literally ought to have hands tools night.
so that
And I
falls into
realize
about
it's
5 other places, right?
but we don't have a physical dedicated swinging an axe.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, but
We do.
we don't actually have a point for them to practice that.
Yes.
Here's a block of wood, just swing the shit until it happens.
So it does, and because we did all this pre-work, right? It lands in about 5 different places.
So we have 5 dedicated stations set up to it.
Yeah, so we have the ventilation
Okay.
type station where you're going to take an axe and you're going to create a cut in a roof, right? So that's one.
Okay.
You have the forcible entry where you're going to use the axe to strike a halligan to force a door. That's two. You have the just general using it for different applications. That's going to fall into the hand tools category. And all these things are covered in multiple aspects where it rolls around 14 different times, where normally we would look at it as this objective is this, right? And we're going to cover it once. In this particular thing, we capture where we covered it 5 other times, so you get 5 times the credit for it.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
So what if I don't think that's enough? Can I add?
Absolutely, right?
How?
So we've given the lead instructor for the day, for the hands-on day, the purview to say, these are the 5 things I have to cover today. But anything else that I want to cover that pertains to what we're doing, I can. I just have to document it so that we can continue to add the credit for those things.
So you're saying like on a ventilation day that I could have an entire section dedicated to just how to swing an axe.
Absolutely. And because it's ventilation and we need to take a hose line with us.
What about the schedule though? Doesn't that screw everything up?
No, absolutely doesn't. Because think about it. We're ventilating, right? We're cutting a hole in the roof. We should have a hose line there, right?
Okay.
So if we have a hose line there, does that hose line being there and being deployed and used not also count as hose practice or nozzle or fire stream practice for the purposes of using it for ventilation?
So you're going to teach crews how to use a hose line on a roof?
We do it, right? You're going to have shit blowing out the hole in the roof, and we need to make sure it doesn't catch the tree on fire. So we deploy a hose line.
But all the TikTok videos I see don't see a guy on the roof with the hose line.
Well, that's TikTok, right? That's not reality.
Yeah, no, my ultimate point here is that
There's 1,000 different ways to look at how you're actually doing something.
yeah, I think one of the biggest mistakes that's happened, and this isn't just firefighting and arguably any academy we've hosted and on, Just because the JPRs are the minimum doesn't mean that's where it has to stop.
No, that's the minimum, right?
And you can cover as much as you possibly want.
So
And I
I'm
would
gonna throw this out.
argue in this academy, this is truly built in. This is the academy where it's built in.
So I'm not gonna throw shade, and I'm not gonna give a name, but I recently did some training
Yeah, definitely don't mention the name.
that was built to the minimum of the standard, right? And I considered it to be absolutely completely inadequate for what it takes to do the job that I was being trained for.
I hate to say this. Does it even actually hit the minimum of the standard?
Yes, I think it hits the minimum of the standard. And oddly enough, I'm probably the only person in Texas that could go in and take that class and have the perspective to know that, right? Because I've had the class in 14 other iterations, but I needed it again for a specific piece of paper that I didn't have. So I know the content, I know what it is. Actually, I'm very familiar with what the standard is because oddly enough, I built a certification program around that specific standard. So I'm oddly uniquely qualified to be the guy that judges a program in this particular facet. And does it meet the minimum? Yes. Does it give you anything that is remotely usable going forward? Possibly.
Probably not.
Probably not, but possibly. Right?
I want to go down this rabbit hole for half a second. This is the great conundrum with any class, training, program, whatever. At the end of the day, do we all wish that we could send our firefighters to a 37,000 hour academy?
Absolutely.
Unequivocally, yes. The problem is that they come in at 18 and they leave at 30, or in this case, 62. Okay. It doesn't work that way. The fact of the matter is this: the state has a minimum standard. Okay.
Well, hell, the nation has a minimum standard.
Communist China has a minimum standard. The United States has a minimum standard. France has a minimum standard. Namibia, Africa has a minimum standard. Okay. And you have to deal with this balance of, and I'm going to use a very dangerous word here, adequately qualified. Okay. And if you've had 37 years on the job, okay, and you're expecting students to come out of an academy with a level of 37 years of experience, then the academy needs to be 37 years long. Okay. Something that we've always done really, really, really well, and we tell everyone this, is our fire academy officially attaches the training wheels. We don't take them off, we attach them. We fully expect our people out of our academy to be capable and competent, not proficient.
Yeah, I always looked at our academy as the Don't Die Academy, right?
Right.
We're going to teach you how to not die.
Right.
And I think I've taken that to the not proficient level, right? I don't think you can get to that proficient level in a year or two.
Yeah, I was gonna say there is no such thing as a proficient academy.
I think we've taken it to the level of from don't die to I'm okay at this.
Right. I can do this
I can do this.
while not killing
I'm
myself,
confident and competent.
while not killing myself and not killing my partner and not killing someone else on scene.
Yeah.
Okay. Because at the end of the day, you have to start somewhere.
Right.
Okay. And
And I see it as a beginning, not an end. Right?
right. It's again, the training wheels are attached.
Yeah.
They're attached. They're officially
So
on.
before we keep diving down this road, because I think we're good on this. I think there's a whole nother aspect of what we can use AI for that we haven't thought of or that we haven't done, right?
Okay.
And maybe I've dabbled, right? You have this idea that, hey, life would be easier if I could do XYZ. And it happened for me, right? And I think as a user of this tool, which is what it is, and you have this idea that, man, my life would be so much easier if I had this thing that did plan my meals, my workout, and my sleep schedule for me. Go ask it. It probably can do it. And the prime example of this is I wanted all these things to happen and had no idea how to actually do it. I went and asked. I had hey, Claude, can you do this? How would you do this? What would be the process to do this? What do I have to do so that you can do this? Ask the question, right? Because it leads into insanely crazy things, right?
Sure.
I mean, I am currently writing software
Why?
because I'm an autist.
What projects are you needing the software written
So
for?
I've worked on 3 different projects in the last 10 days that I'm continually working on. One of them is uh, how do you validate test question, right? That how do you create a way to validate test questions that's traceable, trackable, provides uh, a balance, and takes input from multiple people in consideration for what's a good question, what's a bad question.
Why don't you just hire someone?
Because that's very biased, and then one person's doing it.
Oh God, I don't like that response at all. They're the expert.
Well, so experts often differ in their opinions, right? Because frankly, is global warming real?
Still don't like that answer. Why not just hire someone out to do something that you don't know how to do?
Oh, for the software writing? Uh, how much better am I if I have the ability to do this thing? How many doors does that open for me to be able to do this thing that I shouldn't and normally wouldn't be able to do?
So you're telling the podcast audience that you have an unlimited amount of time.
Negative.
So why not? If you're so busy, because we opened the podcast with that, we're so busy. If you're so busy, why'd you do this?
Why did I do this? Because I wanted an end product that I had faith in could do what I wanted it to do.
So you threw blind trust into the wind and decided that
And I
all of a
gambled
sudden,
time, right? I gambled a undetermined amount of time that I would have to invest in this in the hopes that it would work out.
I'm not going to beat a dead horse here. I was hoping that you were going to say it's incredibly expensive to hire
It is
someone
very,
to actually try and tackle this project.
let's just put it in perspective. My daughter, who is a computer science major who is studying this stuff, roughly has $500,000 invested in a degree right at this moment from a prestigious college. Let's just put it that way.
Right.
And I used tools that were available to me to surpass her abilities in the blink of an eye.
And what was the cost other than time?
$100.
Now, where I'm really going with this for our podcast audience is, do you secretly hold a computer engineering degree?
I do not.
Have you had any previous experience to this
Yes.
of building computer programs?
Yes.
What was that experience?
Ladder logic for PLC controls, control programming, right? So I'm not a complete idiot in the aspect of I have written programs for a specific thing. But we're talking read this sensor, if it reads this, do this. Like pretty basic bottom line stuff.
Why invest 100 hours into this when you could just do it all by written paper?
Two things. Convenience for me personally, and process control.
Ooh, I like that answer. Explain that.
So if I have defined processes that are documented and they're on a specific plan of how these processes are going to work, I can look for the failure in the process on the back end. So if there is a problem, I can isolate, define, and find that problem and fix that one piece where a problem occurred. If I'm paper and care as the wind, right? I have to go back through the entirety of everything to find the problem that caused the failure. If I have process control, I can immediately find the failure, and I can keep it held to that process and fix just that one piece.
Why is that remotely important?
Time on the back end. It's a back end time thing, right? I don't have to reinvent the wheel every time. I can just make small, subtle tweaks as I go to fix the problem.
So if I'm a random small town fire chief in Kentucky,
Yeah. Wilmer, maybe? Shout out, Mike.
this sounds pretty scary. Like, I need you to understand my magic hat is very deep and wide,
Yeah. So,
but it does not have this in it.
and oddly enough, you might a person might consider me a practical engineer.
Okay.
So I have enough knowledge in certain things that would qualify me to be able to engineer certain things. Not software. I definitely don't have enough knowledge in that. But I understand the processes to think about how you solve problems because I am a practical engineer. That comes from electrical and air conditioning and all those other 97 trades and licenses that I deal with on a daily basis. Does not come from software. But I can take the knowledge that I have of those things and apply it to this software thing and use that to shape a process, right? It's all about processes. It's not about outcomes. It's not about feelings. It's not about what I want it to be. It's about the process of what it takes to make this work.
So how do you put that in AI?
Very carefully. So when I went down the road for the let's just take the subject matter expert piece, right? I'm looking to qualify test questions by a group of humans that have a feeling about a question, whether they like it or not. Has nothing to do with the reality. Is the question true, or is it pertinent, or any of that? It's a feeling, right? So it's very human. And I'm looking at the process of how you do that. Well, a 2 out of 3 process is a pretty good way to look at that, right? Best 2 out of 3. Generally, right? If we're going to the 37th power, somewhere in there it's getting misconstrued. So I looked at how would you do that? Like if me, Matt, and one other person are sitting here, we're going to vote on something. The best 2 out of 3 are going to win every time. So how do I create something that does that? And I ask the question, how would I create a process to do this? If I have these certain fixed things, I have the questions, I have the people, how would I create this process? And that's what I asked AI. I gave it a vision of something that I had in my mind, and we had a discussion. Not, I want this to do this on this. How would I do this, with that? And let it feed me an idea, and then I pick. I like that better than I like that.
Yeah, I truly believe that the way you handle AI is the world's smartest 5-year-old.
Correct.
Okay. I assure you, it's going to beat you at Trivial Pursuit every single time. But when you ask it a subjective question, what is the shortest distance between A and B? All of a sudden,
Yes.
AI can't answer that question. Because the fact of the matter is that an adult with life experience
Has to guide it.
who may not be the world's smartest adult still finds that AI, you need to reach down, grab its mitten, take the crayons out of its mouth, and explain.
Yeah, I think part of it is your creativity has to shine through. You can't rely on the AI for the creativity of the concept.
I would interject creativity for vision.
Okay, I'll buy that, right? You have to have the vision for the project in order for AI to help you achieve your vision. Don't ask it to have the vision, ask it to help you achieve your vision.
Right.
I think that's, in a nutshell, what fixes that problem.
I have found AI to be extremely beneficial in the right context, circumstance, and overall guided projection of what I want to see at the end.
Right.
The vision.
The vision.
But the fact of the matter is you have to tell it what the actual vision is. Okay.
And I'm gonna just sidetrack here. You don't have to have the perfect vision.
No.
Let the vision evolve through the conversation, right? Because you don't have every perfect idea. Let the AI help you guide your idea to perfection.
And as weird as it sounds, don't be afraid to tell the AI what your limitations are.
Right. Oh, I do it constantly.
Tell it like I
can't do that.
I can't do this. I don't know what I'm asking, but this is what I need the end result to be.
Or don't mind telling it, I can't write this code. I can't find this piece. Help me break it down into smaller pieces where I can use this to build the bigger thing.
Right.
Yeah.
How long have we been going?
A long time. And phenomenal conversation, right? So this is such a stark thing from when we had Grok lying to us and making up facts, all right, what it considered facts that were just made up out of the blue, to how we're using these tools to advance our vision of what we can create.
So as we wrap this up, I'll kind of say it this way. You will be able to always outthink a computer.
Right.
We are not remotely concerned about AI taking over the world. And I will argue our little podcast on AI was about a month and a half ahead of everyone else, saying that, ooh, AI is not what we think it is.
Right.
It's we don't have to worry about it. If you ask a computer to think for you, you're going to get a ones and zeros answer.
Yeah.
Okay. But if you ask AI to help you with a known, quantitative, definitive task to achieve an objective, it's going to break the world open for you.
Yep.
Because that's the purpose of AI. It's not there to think for you. Quite frankly, you're going to think circles around that damn thing all day, any day.
Yeah.
But if you ask it an objective driven question, it's going to absolutely turn the world upside down for you.
Yep.
It is task driven.
Yeah. And repetitive task, right?
Yeah. particularly repetitive.
So, Matt, excellent conversation. If somebody wants to tell us we're stupid, how do they do it?
Well, you can just tell it to us in our face. Or if you're in Germany or Australia and you don't want to buy the plane ticket, which we will buy the beers and drink at the end of the rainbow. You can find us at ittasteslikeburningcast@gmail.com. You are always welcome to reach out to us on Facebook or Twitter. And if you ever do need the accoutrements of flip-flops or thongs or candles or a coaster or a t-shirt, you can find us on Patreon.
Yeah.
At It Tastes Like Burning Cast. This Matt.
This is Jesse.
Have a good evening.